Hey, how you going? It's Josh. I was so lucky today. I got to sit down with Dylan Hryciuk, the director of so many amazing music videos. And today we went through and watched the Constance music video by Spiritbox that he wrote and directed. It was just an amazing interview, an amazing reaction and breakdown of the whole video. Dylan has done this with me to promote his new Kickstarter. He is launching a feature film, Our Last Day as Kids. The Kickstarter details and the link are down below. Go and check that out. After the Constance breakdown and analysis, there's an interview with Dylan about the project. It sounds amazing and I'm so excited to see what happens with that. So check out the Kickstarter down below. This is my Constance analysis breakdown with the director and writer of the video, Dylan Hryciuk.
Hi, my name is Dylan Hryciuk, and I'm an award-winning music video director, born and raised in Saskatchewan, Canada, and I'm producing my debut short film, Our Last Day as Kids, alongside a talented team of artists and filmmakers. We can't do this without you, and I hope you want to be a part of this creative journey with us. To stay updated, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Our Last Day as Kids. Thank you.
Hey, how you going? It is Josh from Adelaide, South Australia. I am here today with Dylan Hryciuk of Versa Films. Dylan, how you going?
Doing really well. How are you?
So good. I'm so excited for this. Constance, one of the Spiritbox videos that you have directed. And what is the official title for what you do with these videos? I want to say directed, but what is the...
Yeah, well, for this one, I kind of pulled like triple duty. Like I wrote it, I directed it, I was the cinematographer for it, and I edited the video. So this one of all my videos is like my little brainchild thing, and it's super personal. It's about my family. There's a kid playing me in the video, so very, very personal stuff.
Okay, so we're gonna go through and break down the video together. This video was a phenomenon, really, in the reaction scene we were talking earlier. Reactors loved it. A lot of people got very emotional from it, and I think it made a huge splash in the metalcore and modern metal scene. From the comment, I think I saw a comment that your dad put on the video where he gave just some brief understanding of the relationship between the song, the lyrics, and the video and how that works. So I think Courtney wrote the song about her grandma who passed a few years ago. And then the video was regarding your grandmother, whose name is Constance.
Yeah, it was actually kind of crazy how it all came together because the band sent me an instrumental and it was just this really sad, beautiful song, something so different from all the stuff I had heard that they were working on for the album and stuff. They weren't really sure like what direction the video should go or whatever, and like Courtney wasn't even sure like where she wanted to like thematically go and stuff. Honestly, they did something no band has ever done, and they were like, if you could do anything, what would you do? And like, because it was so sad and stuff, my grandma at the time had dementia, and I had always wanted to make a short film about kind of processing my feelings of watching someone I love so much kind of deteriorate a little bit through dementia, and like how complicated that has been on my family and the dynamic and stuff like that. And so I pitched that. The band loved it. Courtney was really moved because she had just recently lost her grandma during COVID, and she wasn't able to go to the funeral and everything. Like, so it was just very like raw and sensitive for her and for me as I was dealing with loss kind of in a different way. And so the video concept kind of influenced the song and the lyrics, and then the lyrics once again influenced the video again because they were both getting made at the same time.
If you need a minute while we're watching, because I know this is the first time that you've watched the video, as you said, since your grandmother has passed. And as we spoke about before, my granddad has just passed, so this also makes me quite emotional. But let me know if you need a moment as we go through. We can regather. But so this is Constance by Spiritbox. Let's go. So many tricks. I'm going to pause this one a lot. There's so many things in this video. Even just the very beginning there, the blurring of the face and it flickering into clarity, and how you use that later, which we'll talk about. Oh, another thing that I only noticed last night, the the band members, I've never realized, are all crying from the first moment you see them.
Yeah, they're the biggest direction I was just giving to them was just like, you guys know what this song is about, so just kind of live in that space, especially with Courtney. Honestly, it was a pretty cathartic process making the video, but like very emotional. But after the takes, it was just like, it just felt right. The song, the whole thing was just like bleeding heart, you know, putting our emotions that maybe we're not the best at talking about kind of on screen and in music and stuff. So yeah, it was very emotional. And I forgot to mention just before, we were just talking about it, but they named the song after my grandma. Once everything was made, like after we had shot the video and stuff, they like called me up and they were like, we want to do this. Are you cool if we name the song after your grandma, Constance? Which was really cool because, like, firstly, it's my grandma's name, but also the name itself, Constance, is like, oh, she will always be there, even though, you know, she was lost through dementia, like, and all that. There was something that felt like really, really powerful about that. So
such a beautiful gesture. And I think it really shows the connection between the stories and the video to the song, which I guess is another reason people relate so much to this as a piece of art, because the video and the song are paired so well. So yeah, I think that's beautiful. So this is our first shot of a young Dylan and family.
Yeah, it's like crazy to watch because he's wearing my actual clothes.
Oh my! Wow.
Yeah, he kind of like looks a little bit like a younger me, especially when I had longer hair. It was crazy. And like, even though our actress Lila, she doesn't necessarily look exactly like my grandma, but she embodied, my grandma was always someone who like dressed up and she was filled with so much joy, and she just embodied her. And it was crazy. It was like just getting to hang out with my grandma through this filmmaking.
Yeah, and this scene here, again, as I've said, I feel like relationships and emotion are the two pillars of your videos and your style. The realness of this scene, it's just rocking up to the house, but you've captured that the family dynamic of getting to grandma's house and her dynamic of, she's obviously been waiting for the family to get there. She loves the grandkids, she loves the family, and I love this scene here. And just showing her emotion, and she's so lively at this point in the video, and I think that you really capture that in this part, which is so important. Was the game you're playing, is that of significance to you?
To my family, my parents and grandparents all played like a lot of cribbage. I less so, but it was something that I was like, oh, what could they be doing that feels so like grandmotherly, but also like that I remember my parents playing with them and stuff like that. Oh, but I obviously wanted to tie into like this little boy having this relationship with his grandma as it slowly is kind of swept away as the video progresses and stuff. Yeah. But I'm not a fantastic cribbage player.
Okay. And now this is the first scene where we see a break.
Yeah, there's already like, even just in that scene, a lot of things that people don't notice that are happening or that were intentional. Like, even this is how personal I was getting with it. Like the green Jello that's on the table, was the green Jello dish that my grandma made every time we got together. People don't notice, but there's items disappearing in this scene, like quite a few.
Oh, already? I was going to talk about that later.
Yeah, it's already starting. Like if you look on the table, I believe the peas and carrots disappear.
I saw it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh. And then there's also two little candlesticks on the piano to the left, the top left corner, that disappear.
Wow. All right.
Then there's something behind him that disappears in this shot right there. And no one's caught on. No one has ever, any of the reaction videos.
This section, there it goes. Wow. I didn't realize it had started so soon.
Yeah. It was like the early stages.
Yeah. Now, this scene here where she's looking out the window, we'll let it run through before we talk about it. So this is, and again, Courtney with the tears, it gets me every time. Now, this is the first part of where you really see the acting prowess of the actor that you had playing the grandma, where the happiness that she had when the family got there, and then the fear and worry and confusion in this scene. So talk us through what is happening here. Why does this happen at this part of the video?
Yeah, so a part of it is actually embedded in like my reality of how I started witnessing my grandma's dementia, but also part of it is creative license. This character is supposed to represent her past husband. My grandpa is still alive, so I did change the story from my reality because it's art and whatever. The reality of my story was one of the first signs of my grandma getting dementia, and we didn't even know at the time, is she kept seeing her sister out the window. And she started getting so angry at seeing her sister. She started making up stories that her sister was sneaking into her house and stealing things from the house and stuff. And so items were going missing, which ties into kind of the visual concept. In this, I wanted something where it's like, oh, there's this scary man and she doesn't recognize who he is. And in the end, it's revealed he becomes clear, which I know I'm jumping ahead, but it's this idea that this is the man that she's now returning to. As everything else fades out, he fades back in. And it's how she remembered him. And actually, the first scene, I know this is like such a small detail, but the first thing is her putting her ring on. And it's also supposed to tie into like this bond. Yeah, he's there.
Gone, but he's still there with her.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I think that, like you said, the way that you've made it this like stranger of a man initially, I think I almost thought that it was like a specter of death or something, like something dark and ominous looming. But it's just about the context of the video.
Which in a way, like it is, right? Like, because he only exists on the other side. So there is, like, that's what I wanted was, it does feel like death. Like he is later a shadow in the room or whatever, and it feels like it's looming over her. But in the end, he becomes this thing of comfort because now she remembers who he is.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of, during Courtney's scenes, a lot of in reverse scenes. Was that just for the visual appeal, or was there a story element to having these sections where she's in reverse?
There's a story element because even some of the story is taking place in reverse, and like this shot is just the memories that they're sharing are almost like unwinding. They're falling apart. They're erasing because she's losing these memories. She's losing these people. And so we wanted to tie that into reverse footage. Looks really cool, but it's also like this idea of we're losing the things we already had, you know?
Now we're seeing more and more disappearing, but also this is where the blurring effect comes in. So I hadn't realized that the video starts with the blurring, and we've already had the husband out the window with the blur, but this is where I guess again the actor really starts to show that fear. Now this next part, can I just ask what happens here in this scene?
This is the first time where it's like the people that are coming to her house, her family, which in the scene before was all happy-go-lucky and like they know each other. This is the first time where she's like looking up and she's not really recognizing who her own family members are. That's shown through the blurs, which if you didn't recognize someone who's at your house that you're eating with, it's this moment of like, who are you? And like my grandma has had moments where she's just kind of like scared or just like looking at us like, why are you here bothering me? Or like I've seen her get so mad at my grandpa because she doesn't know who he is, trying to like feed her and stuff. And so this is that first moment of just having a lapse of forgetting. And it's the first time that family's really seeing it to this degree. And so my grandma, she would tense up and just get really tense with the utensils and stuff, and so he's trying to like settle her hands and like, it's okay, you're okay, we're here for you. And then the mom is consoling the son because it's a hard thing to see. It's a lot, and then
it's a lot in a very short amount of time as well. So I think there's so many intricacies in this scene, and I feel that, is this also showing that, is she the father's mother? Yes, and I feel like the way that he goes to her and the mum consoles the son immediately shows that relationship. And I think, this scene is the first part that indicates that as well.
Yeah, I'm glad it shows. And that's why my dad made that comment, because it was his mom. It's so hard to convey story through a music video because you don't have dialogue. So even how are you going to know whose mom it is? Or how do you know who that blurry man outside is? It's like, it's all just trying to lead the audience to what you hope is the right answer.
Yeah. And then the first dark part of the song appears as well. And I love the showing the dad's dark emotion with that dark part of the song. And again, another scene that I've never quite understood. What's the idea of the conversation here? The dad's angry, from what it seems.
This is what's so weird, is because it once again, this project was written like a script, right? And so there's a lot of stuff, like when you're on set, you're hearing it, and you hope it translates just through their emotions and the shots and stuff. But this was, so the family's now seen what's going on.
Yep.
Maybe it's happened a few times now. The dad's pissed off in the car, and he's just like so angry and hurt and crushed to see his mom this way. Like he just took a breather. He goes back inside, and the mom wants to have a talk with him, and she wants his mom in a care home.
Okay.
And he's pissed off because it's his mom. And it's like, what, we're just supposed to like do away with her? Or, like, she's going to be fine. Like, because you do go into denial. My dad had plenty of moments like that. And a lot of times when you hear someone just be like, oh, I want to put her in a care home and blah, 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 it feels like you're just doing away with a problem or whatever. So it was kind of just to show that, like, it's a very, very complex thing and range of emotions to go through.
It is.
Yeah.
So this is the shadow you were saying earlier, him coming back. Is his look here and the vibe because they are taking her from the house? Is that the
no,
thing?
it's not necessarily. It's just him going back now. So my grandma didn't live in the same city, so trips were not all, you know,
trips
not
are
always
a big deal.
Yeah, it wasn't every day or whatever. So before visits were something that you cherished, and then eventually becomes something you dread because like, we're going into something that we're not going to like to see.
Yeah,
that was kind of the emotions. He's dreading the drive there.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see the wife now taking, because he's so emotionally down that she is now kind of taking on initially it was him with the physical touch and settling, but now I guess he was getting distant.
Now that he's dreading it, he knows the reality and he knows where this is going, whether it's her going to a care home or her getting more sick or whatever. You become a little like distant, you're resentful, like he has so much on his mind and he's just kind of witnessing his mom not be the person he remembers. Yeah. And then the spouse often is the person who's like, hey, well, we have to like kind of deal with this and handle this. And, I'll dress her. And, they, because that's the mom helping him. Right.
Yes. Yeah. And now this, I think the song's kind of big break, big emotional kind of swell. The combination of the band shots in these videos.
Oh, can I pause there?
Yes.
So that photo is my grandma.
All right, so that is Constance.
Yeah, that's my grandma. And this whole video is an ode to her, who she was before dementia, but also the woman that she was with dementia. I get really emotional seeing her because she just passed away. But it was like, oh, I want somewhere significant that we can actually put my grandma on screen and stuff, and that was her. It was really hard because like we still wanted this video to have this element of like horror because that's what Spiritbox is known for. But what I wanted to pitch is like, well, what about like the horrors real people go through and what I'm going through, what Courtney's gone through, and having to like edit out my grandma's face for this one scene.
Oh,
was
you
like,
edited as well.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes.
So that was very uncomfortable to do, but I think it was, I don't know, I find the scene, I don't often find things I make powerful, but this video is the one that like, I remember totally being emotionally distant from it for the editing process by the time we finished it. And then I watched it during the live premiere that Spiritbox had. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I finally knew what this video was. And I was just like waterworks. I was just like, oh, it was a process, but I just wanted to point out that that's my lovely grandma.
I think it's a beautiful way of inserting her into the video and adding it to the story. I think it's I think that's great, and it would have been hard. How were you on the scene that day with the actor, with the photo?
It was really tough. I was crying on set quite a bit. And like, I try to get really personal in my projects and stuff. And like, I treat them like they're real films. So I'm not calling cut until it sounds and feels real, even though it gets cut for a music video.
Yeah.
Lila was so amazing in channeling everything I was going for. We had a lot of conversations before set, but once we were on set, she was just kind of following her instincts and what she knew from what I said. And like, there would be some times where I would forget to call cut because I was just watching it and just like living it. Like, it just felt so real. It was beautiful because sometimes it was like, oh, I'm with my grandma. And then it was at this next second, like, heartbreaking because I was like, oh yeah, but this is like what I'm going through and what we're going through. And also like how scary it must be for her. Like, it must have been terrifying in her final years of life. All these people around her,
Yeah.
she no longer recognizes. She can't read anymore. She is having people feed her. Like, yeah, I can't process what she was going through. I can hardly process what I was going through, but this was my act of trying to make a little bit of sense out of it.
And now musically, I've called this a slow march towards the end, and I feel that the way that the video degrades from here as well. So here's where we see the most disappearance and the most obvious disappearance of items. And Lila, the actor in this part, just shows that real kind of bleakness from that first scene. The difference is astounding in her performance.
Yeah, she almost feels so different. Even the way we did her hair, because she's no longer able to care for herself or dress herself. That was a big thing I noticed with my grandma. Like, she was someone who dressed up and had so much joy. And then once she was in the care home, well, they wouldn't do her hair or her makeup, so she didn't look the same. Her eyes started getting like pink and they looked sore, and like,
Yeah.
It was just like seeing a totally different person, but you know it's your grandma. Like, yeah.
And again, the reverse as things are disappearing, the memories are leaving. Now that, I saw this last night and this got me. I lost it. Does he mouth "I love you"?
Yeah.
So,
which a few people caught.
So he says it and then he disappears. And like we've been saying, so this is the memories disappearing. So that one, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Just as we were saying before, I didn't get the chance to.
I know.
Yeah, just very well done, basically.
Thank you. I'm sorry that, like, I think that's been the hardest part of this video is like, it's so beautiful that it touches people, but it touches people because it's something we all go through. Yeah. Whether it's dementia or not, it's this universal thing that we're all going to have to say goodbye or not even have the chance to say goodbye to the people we care most about.
Yeah.
This, to me, it's in the script. It says, "I love you." We recorded my employee saying, "I love you," over, and then we would reverse it, and then we would record her trying to mimic what it is in reverse. And it took like 20 takes for us to figure out, like, phonetically what he had to say for it to look like "I love you," because it wasn't the same as like what it sounds like. Yeah. Like, if you just make the sounds for what "I love you" would be in reverse and rewound it, his lips didn't move in the right way. Yeah. But yeah, to me, this is like, well, the most like personal, like, this was "I love you" to my grandma. And yeah, as we're fading away, she doesn't recognize us anymore. And it's so weird because, yeah, he's wearing all my clothes.
Oh, yeah, so, that must be rough. I'll just also quickly explain, we were talking before the video. So my granddad passed about a month ago, and the day that he passed, I went to visit him in the hospital. I missed him by, they said 8 minutes. So I was, whether unfortunate or not, the person that found him. So yeah, just seeing this moment, and it's so beautiful that you got to put it in there in the video as something that lives forever. So. And I feel that this shot, the acting here, again, from the start of the video to this point in the video, just show the life, and the person leaving, I feel like just incredibly powerful. And again, the blur here, this is the final blur, if you will.
Ah.
And I love that in the first shot of this final bit, the first thing you see includes the pearls. And it's like, it's the first time they've come back from the beginning of the video, so you immediately get that sense of like it's her again, in whatever form. All right, unbelievable.
Tough one for me to watch. I don't think I'll ever, I don't know if I'll ever be able to like top that for how personal it is. And like, to me, I love Spiritbox. They're my favorite people. They make some of my favorite music. This was just a project like no other.
Yeah.
You don't get a chance to be so personal. How lucky am I to have my grandma's name on their music? Like I just, it's been so important to my family. My dad's gotten a lot of beautiful comments, and he reads them all and updates me and stuff. It made it to the care home that my grandma was in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just, I feel extremely lucky to have gotten to make that. And it sucks that so many people have watched it and have felt very similar sorrow and pain and stuff. But also it's like encouraging to know that like we're not in this alone. We're all going through it, and it really sucks. But like, you know, it only hurts so much because you had something so great to love. So
that's very beautiful. I think I think you've made something that is just so incredible and has touched so many people and will continue to do so. So I think it's a real achievement, and well done on an amazing video. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this with you, to watch through this and kind of break down the video. Thank you so much.
Of course, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much. And sorry for the tears.
No, thank you for the tears. It was beautiful. Hey, what is going on? It is Josh. I am here with Dylan Hryciuk of Versa Films. And Dylan, we're talking about your new Kickstarter for Our Last Day as Kids. Can you tell me about the project?
Yeah, I've been a music video director for the past little while. I've had my own production company for 6 years now. And filmmaking has been my whole life since I was like in elementary school. That's when I kind of found the passion for it. And for some reason, despite doing this full time, I've been scared to make something of my own, because my dream is to make feature films and stuff. And finally, after a project I did last summer, a music video for Census Fail, I finally was like, oh man, this is like what I want my short film to be. I've been working on it for so long. I was like, let's do it. Like after that production went so well, it was like, we have to make this film. And the short film is takes place in the mid 2000s. So when I was like an emo teen with like long swoopy hair, black and red, and all the colors and stuff. And half of the film is about just like me and a friend that I grew up with, and just us getting into trouble and kind of figuring out who we are as teens. And then the other half of the story is my brothers were both in a metalcore band, and I was the one brother who wasn't in it. It was like my two brothers were the screamer and the drummer, and I was like the kid brother with a camera who just admired them from afar. And I would film their jams. I would send invites to people on their MySpace and stuff. I was like, kind of just tried to make myself involved and stuff because definitely. I wanted to be a part of what they were making. And the film is about that like little brother journey, admiring his two brothers as he wants them to become the Devil Wears Prada or something. Yeah. And it's about the heartbreak I went through when I saw my brother's band kind of crash and burn.
That is so interesting to see from the little brother's perspective, because usually in these kind of like biopics following a band, it's mostly on the band. So to see it from your perspective, you know, as a fan of the band, but also as the brother, and as you said, the brother that wasn't in the band, I think that's a great aspect on how it all goes through, because, you know, the breaking up of a band isn't just affecting the band members.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times these films are about like the bands that did make it, or the bands that got huge and then crashed or whatever. And like, to me, this is an ode to like all those bands that like maybe they had an impact on their local scene and they think they didn't make it, but it's like, even though you didn't go all the way, like you still had impact on like someone like me, or the kids going to the shows, or that next kid who picked up the guitar because your music, you know what I mean? So it's an ode to just like, I don't know, all the like smaller people that made the music scene what it was.
Very cool. I know that when I was watching the Census Fail video, I said this is a movie. Like, this is a movie that's just been condensed into a music video. And I know that on the Kickstarter, you do mention that this was like the forming of the movie idea. Is any elements from the video going to it, or is it very separate?
So I had the concept before. I was like, I know I want to make this film. And when I got the Census Fail song and they reached out to me, I was like, oh, no way. Like, I grew up with Census Fail. Like,
yeah.
I thought someone was pranking me. And the music was such a throwback to that like mid-2000s sound. And so I pitched them this concept that was inspired by my film. So it was like me taking the baby steps to making my film. Yeah. But it was like, it's going to have the same feeling, the way it's shot, the characters having fun, like the shopping cart stuff. The actor in that film is going to be one of the main characters in the film.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of it is going to cross over, but then obviously it's even more personal because it's like, well, there's me. There was a little inkling, like she has the little camcorder in that music video.
Yeah.
But it'll be even more about that and more about like, I really want to capture like going to shows and like just like the energy you get from like being among your peers. And like I remember being like a little emo kid and like I didn't fit at parties. I was a little weird at school, but when I went to shows, I felt like I was like with my people, and I really want to capture like the essence of that.
Yeah, I feel like it's really going to speak to a lot of people. And I think a lot of people our age that went through that, you know, transition to the scene and going out to local shows, and the MySpace era has not been documented enough. So definitely really looking forward to that. I know this is really going to speak to me and my group. And I'm sure a lot of people that watch these videos. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So the Kickstarter is live now?
Yeah, the Kickstarter's been live for a little bit. We've raised about $10,000. We're trying to raise another 20,000. It's a pretty big goal, but the film is going to be like 30 to 40 minutes. And if you've seen my music videos, they're like very involved. They have a lot of like locations and scenes and stuff. This is my 3-minute music video style expanded into like a 40-minute film.
Fantastic. I'm just so excited for it. I think that one of the hallmarks of your videos is the emotion and relationships, and in so many different ways. So, you know, as when we're watching the Hurt You video, a lot of intimacy in those videos between relationship, but then I feel like you also nail relationships between parents, siblings in a lot of your videos, friendship. There seems to be a real theme of that throughout. Is that something that you focus on, or is that just a byproduct of how you direct and create?
I don't know. I think I'm so inspired by movies. So like if someone comes to me and they're like, oh, we want something that, you know, maybe tells a little bit of a story, like I'm writing full scripts for these music videos.
Yeah.
And I love like character. I love stuff that feels really authentic. So I'm trying to like pull from my own personal experiences, even though the Census Fail video is about like a younger girl. Well, I was inspired by like my first girlfriend in grade 8. And I was like, oh, this is a little bit of you and a little bit of the people I grew up with. And even a little bit of me is in there and whatever. And it's like, I feel like the stuff I gravitate towards in the work I love the most is the stuff that feels like so personal. And it kind of focuses on like the things that feel really universal and like little, but it feels so big to that person at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the scene in the Census Fail video when they're just like messing around and like in a shopping cart, like that's such a nothing moment, but for those kids it just feels like you were like king of the world.
Yeah, and everyone's done it as well. You know, it's one of those moments that you watch, you can see how much it means to them, and then you remember, like, I remember those nights. Mm-hmm. You know, they're just, yeah. So I think very, very relatable, which I guess you hear people say relatable a lot, but for me specifically, these speak to me, these videos and these concepts. So I'm very excited for it. So I'll say the Kickstarter is live now. There'll be a link down below. Dylan, thank you so much for having this time with me. We'll be watching your videos throughout this week on my channel, and we'll have this interview at the end to support this Kickstarter. I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me and for telling your audience about my project. I hope we can make it a reality.
Excellent. Thanks, Dylan.